the Australian High Commissioner in the UK, Stephen Smith, now he's a Albanese appointee, he has announced that there will be no special Australia Day celebration in the UK, as there has been for the past 20 years, where the Australia Day gala dinner has been held. But he said, no, sorry, we're not going to host it this year because of, quote, sensitivities. The Australia Day Foundation, when they applied to use the exhibition hall at the Australian High Commission, were told for the first time in 20 years, if you want the hall, you'll have to pay $55,000. They've never been hit with that fee before, or hold it in March, but not on January 26, because we don't want to upset the sensitivities of people back home. This is the first I understood that the Australian High Commissioner in the UK determines when and when is not Australia Day. This is not Stephen Smith's portfolio. He's there to represent Australia, not change policy, and certainly not on public holidays.
And bizarrely as well, he wanted to put an 11 p.m. curfew on the party. Like he's saying, you can come over and have it in March, but you've all got to clear out by 11 p.m.
That's so un-Australian.
So I know, it's terrible. So this event that's been going on in the UK for 20-odd years is a charity gala event, right? It's held obviously on the Saturday closest to Australia Day. And in the last 20 years, it's become a major event that now turns a profit for charity. So not only is Stephen Smith making political statements about Australia Day and saying you can't have it here, he's actually taking money away from charity by, one, telling them you've got to pay your 50K if you want to set up shop for the evening, even though we've done it for free for all this time prior, and you've got to be out by 11 p.m, so no one's going to stick around and spend money on charity, and we're going to move it to another time when no one's going to come anyway. Like, he's buggered it up on every single front. And even the response today from people within the government, I mean, you haven't actually seen anyone come out and lash the High Commissioner for this, but Claire O'Neill, I hate to give her any praise, but she did reaffirm today Australia Day is January 26.
My strong view is that Australia Day is the 26th of January. That's the government's position, and we don't seek to do anything to change that. As for what the High Commission does, I don't have a lot of control over that, to be totally honest with you, Kieran. I've got bigger problems right now trying to fix the Liberals' broken migration system, and that's really where my focus is.
I mean, yes, love, you do have bigger problems. Again, you have to blame it on the Liberals. But, you know, clearly there are people within the government who might have an issue with this. Where are they? Did we actually hear anyone today come out and say, hang on a minute?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. There's the sensitivities they're worried about back home. I'm thinking, who's going to be sensitive about an event held in the UK on January 26? And I think the sensitivities are within the Albanese front bench.
Oh, 100%. As the article says, this guy is Albo's handpick. One of the first things that Albo did when he became Prime Minister was to get himself a Assistant Minister for the Republic. We laughed about the fact that he went to the coronation, because there he is, hand on heart, pledging allegiance. Meanwhile, it's like, I will stab you first chance I get. And he also said that if the Voice were to get up at referendum, the very next referendum this government would hold was on to become a republic. But again, it falls to the opposition. In this case, opposition minister. Little Proud. You know what? I'm just calling it. Let's just speed things up. Little Proud saying the foreign minister has to condemn this. Otherwise, she's complicit. Where is she?
This is an appalling act by the High Commissioner, and it's time now for the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister to intervene, and intervene quickly. Otherwise, they're complicit.
He's not wrong, but again, it falls to the opposition to speak strongly to this matter. So we have a tweet from Peter Dutton. He says the Prime Minister should direct his hand-picked High Commissioner to reverse this bad decision. Australia Day is our national day, and it shouldn't be cancelled like this. Here, Duts. Not to mention, this is embarrassing when we consider this is on an international stage. If you want to bitch, bicker and moan about January 26th, do it within your little Politico sections here at home. Don't be having a High Commissioner in one of our strongest allied countries in the UK closing the doors of Australia House ruining what sounds like a great fundraiser, if nothing else. Like, do it for the kids, for crying out loud, mate. And trying to make this political, no doubt pushing the barrow of an Albanese agenda.
But that's why it has to be done out of the UK, because they know they can't do it at home. I mean, if they actually tried to change the date of Australia Day, it would go down like a lead balloon. So they're too afraid.
So you're going to do it from the UK?
Yeah, precisely. They're too afraid to actually have that discussion at home. So old mate over in the UK is like, well, I'll just fiddle around on the edges over here, because it helps spark some discussion at home without the government itself having to make any intervention.
But then all they've done is put themselves between a rock and a hard place, because now everyone's looking at them going, OK, condemn it.
They won't.
Are you going to condemn it?
They won't.
No.
They'll just ignore it, ride through.
So it doesn't work.
You're right, though, about sparking the debate. And this is what's interesting about this story, is that we always have every year an Australia Day, controversy, right? But for the first time that I can remember, it's the government that's been the one to kick it off. It's not Aboriginal activists. It's not, woke uni students. The government are the ones themselves who, and quite early, may I say, in the piece, have said, all right, let's do this. And they've sparked it.
Of all the things you want to get going before Christmas, we're going to cut immigration. We're not going to have Australia Day in the UK anymore. I mean, for God's sake, guys, you've blown all of that good press you tried to get yourself on Saturday by coming out with this nonsense today.